Yeah. Hey, there's nothing like a turnaround Tuesday, but it's Wednesday, and we got some follow through action. You're watching the community rip live right here on Stocktwits and everywhere Stocktwits streams this show. You got me, Ben. I'm also a scientist, or you might know me as Holdingbags. I'm a Muppet chef. And then we got Jfdi, just fucking do it, Mr. Nicholas over there, and Gpaisa, Gautam. Hi guys, how are we?
Doing great.
I mean, it's hard not to do great when the market turns a 3% day on a Tuesday and we're up more than 1.5% on a Wednesday. So, Nick, is it follow through Wednesday or not?
I mean, we're definitely catching a follow through bar. I don't know if I think typically O'Neill and Juan style investors want the follow through day to come like 4 days. I think a minimum of like 4 days post that day one rally attempt, but I think we're definitely making a step in the right direction, especially the Q's reclaiming 580 and kind of having the massive bar that we're having today. I think strong close would be great. 600 is going to be something to contend with, but I would imagine when we do push through 600, it's gonna like it's gonna act almost like a massive short squeeze. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
So you're thinking
I
plus
couldn't
600 on the Q's and way more up to come.
Yeah, I honest to God, Monday, even going into yesterday, like looking at those, high flyers, I in the back of my mind, I was like, dude, you're throwing in the towel right now. Like you're like kind of throwing in the towel. And I was like, are they gonna turn this right as like in the like kind of nth hour of your mind, essentially? Um I cannot remember the last time I felt as much discomfort in my stomach as I did the last couple days.
So
Like I don't,
that's a capitulation sign
that's
in and
kind
of
of
itself, right?
yeah. That's kind of kind of what I was thinking. So I certainly didn't expect the kind of move and bounce, but it is what it is. That's great. I think it's like kind of like if you're more or less wrong, but you didn't really want to be wrong, are you still wrong? I mean, on the larger time frames, we've all pretty much agreed that we're in an uptrend. At this point, we're just trying to figure out where the market bottoms out, finds its footing to continue its trend up. I don't think any of us have shifted gears into thinking that like we're going into like a massive, I don't know, 2022 bear.
Well, make no mistake. I think we've all said over the last 6 months that we expect to go higher um, in the short to intermediate term, right, GP?
You're on mute.
Yeah, I got it. Sorry, just got some baby noise in the background, but so I put on mute. What was I going to say? Yes, I think what you have right now is a false breakdown and recovery on the markets. We cannot have a follow through day because we actually did not have an 80 UVol. We actually got to only I think 77 or something like that.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you're a yeah, but it's important, right? These are very, very characteristic. If you're talking about the Ken Slim and William O'Neill setups, right? All this stuff. I'm not saying the reaction isn't bullish. What I'm saying is the follow through today is typically you do 90, right? UVol, and then you have one 4 to 8 days later as a follow through day. You didn't get a 90 UVol yesterday. You got a 77 UVol. And what makes up for a 90 UVol is 280 UVols, right? Up volume. That's what UVol means. Devol is devolume for people who are just tuning in. But you gotta have the 90 UVol to have a follow through day. So, or you have back to back 80 UVols, and then you look for a follow through day. So yesterday, you can probably just say oversold rally, which is a 77 U vol, and if today, which looks stronger, honestly, in terms of price action underneath, could potentially be an 80 U vol day, and it could be your first kind of light up. So we don't know yet. We'll go through some of the stuff. What I do like is we reclaimed the pivots of the range yesterday on that move, which is huge, right? Because that's what we've been holding for 6 months. And to reclaim it, you have to have your eyes open, ears open, and ready to see what happens after that. And then so far to that reclaim pivot, we have a follow through to just that reclaim of the pivot. We're hitting obviously overhead moving average resistances. This has been a long time coming, but this is what we talked about, right? Like you have a 6 month range. Either we're going to die really badly or we're going to break out of this really badly. You don't go sideways in the markets to have a 1 day down move or a 1 day up move. So if you're thinking about this at the short term and medium term, we can chop around here a little bit, but ultimately what we're doing is either we're going to false break down and rocket out of this, right? And that would be awesome. Everyone wants to see that because ultimately everyone's long the markets, their 401ks, except for that, Michael Burry guy might be short a little bit, but ultimately most of the general population of the world is long the market, so they want to see it go on. So I think you have potential setups, but there's still a lot of work to do because you have 6 months of emotional drain. You just talked about it, Nick, right? Like that like this was your mental makeup, right? For the last 6 months, it was going like this, and then when the market broke down, your mental makeup kind of broke down with it, right? So it's gonna, like, people are still short the rally, right? So you have non-believers everywhere, including the bulls who've been beaten to a pulp over the last 6 months, right? So there's a lot of work to do to sit here and call 1 day or 2 days. It's constructive, don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
But
I agree.
There's a lot of work to do, and when things restart reclaiming pivots on a larger time frame, and Microsoft not acting like it's down 180 points and being up $2 today, right? Like, still need mega caps to. So what we got is mega caps to stop selling, right? That was a great thing. Now mega caps have to start buying.
Sure.
So you're already seeing a bit of the buying in Meta. Meta had a very visceral, awesome reaction, but they told you on, I think it was Friday, when it was green, right, and the rest of the market was red. That's like, this is really cheap. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Or was it Monday? It was Monday when it was green and the rest of the market was weak, right? And then we had the Tuesday follow through.
Well, so far we have 2 days of mega cap buying, just like the rest of the market. I'm looking at the mags here, and I also like MGK over there by Vanguard. Not as much volume over here, but nice little pop yesterday on the volume, above average, wouldn't you say?
I think my favorite setup in the mag names right now is Google, because it's reclaiming the neckline on the somewhat head and shoulders it kind of built out on the daily.
And that would be a false move, right?
Exactly. Obviously want to see it take out the high. Your confirmation on the trade is taking out the high of the right shoulder, which is 318, 319. But you could probably just draw a trend line as well and just kind of connect the highs, which we're kind of, pushing into that trend line if you connected the head to the right shoulder right now. So, you push through that and and the 50-day, and it's game on, which, then you flip over and kind of look at the cues. It's like the same idea. If you just connect a short-term trend line on the daily, it's like if we push through 595, 600, it's going to be a fucking squeeze.
Going back to that Google chart real quick, Nick. I mean, hey, Chad, if anybody bought Google down in the 270s, pat yourself on the back, maybe. I don't know. It might be too early to start celebrating, but that's a splendid move, 10% in if you bought Friday or Monday, 2 or 3 days, you got to love that from a mega cap name.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. Chat, you there, chat? Why is the
That's
chat
pretty
dead?
quiet.
Yeah, the
quiet.
chat's so quiet. Randy's not even here, but we got Ryan and Snaptrick. It's like Nick's commenting with the Heyo and GP's.
Dude, I'm telling you, yesterday, the last couple days, like I can't be the only one that's like feeling this, like feeling just kind of. I don't know. I'm sure everyone's kind of going through.
Well, I think last Tuesday was my first sort of meh day, right? In the 6 months of chop that we've had. And it's like, oh, the monotony is never going to end. And then obviously Thursday, we had Thursday's action, and Friday had Friday's action. And it's like, well, if I'm not spending money now, what in the hell am I waiting for, right? GP, my perspective as an investor is completely different as a trader, but I've been squeezing off a couple trades here over the past few days. Does just the action make you feel better as opposed to the slow drip and bleed that we had been experiencing? I mean, obviously nobody loves to see huge down days, but at the same time, it was a break from the monotony of what had been happening over 6 months.
Yeah, I think so. But this is what I'm talking about. This mechanical stuff that's happening is just mind numbing, right? But you can't, when you see that happening, right? Especially as we got closer to that JPM collar strike, you just kind of had to let it play out until the market mechanics figured out what to do, right? As soon as we got under 64.75, the markets had to sell. Like, it didn't matter what you owned, because the people who are holding things to stay neutral were no longer neutral, and they will protect their book with the fury of the world, right? And that's exactly what they were doing, and you can't get in front of that, right? Like it tends to happen almost every year these days. What it feels like. But yeah, once you got to that level, it was like, yep, I'm just going to step back and wait for this to play back, right? And then what you look for at that point is the relative strength that shows up. Like, okay, well, we have market mechanics, but there's a Bill Ackman out there saying Meta is insanely cheap. We're going to keep buying this because this makes no sense to us. Let the market do its thing. We're good with the valuation. And that's what you started to see on Monday. Microsoft stopped going down. Meta stopped going down. And I know we've been talking about how being long the mag names, I think since like July, is a bad bet, right? Overall in the markets. And now I'm at that point where I'm like, why would you buy anything else?
Yeah, for sure.
You can buy other things, but like you have literally Microsoft trading at 17, 18 times earnings. Historic levels of oversold. It can still get more oversold. I'm not saying it, but you're at a point where this company makes 78 or 80 billion dollars in free cash flow. Their entire capex is 100 billion for the year. They're barely touching, and they have a cash pile of 50 billion, right? So if this is growth for the long term, and which the long term is now accelerating to be medium term or short term because AI can accelerate that S curve, right? Then you're getting into these companies that are at pretty cheap valuations. I think the valuation on Microsoft hit like 2019 lows, which is kind of crazy.
Well, let's take a look on the old FinViz.
Pretty much right as you started speaking, kind of pointing that out.
19.6 PE. Sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say last year, kind of, midsummer, when you had said that, mag names would be more or less a bad bet. That was, it wasn't there shortly thereafter when all of these like mega moves started on like SanDisk, Micron, probably Western Digital, all those like the super high flyers that like have just been on a fucking tear pretty much started right about that time. I think it was sneaky a little bit because I think most felt, especially like shorter term traders, probably felt as those started to really take off, they more or less missed the meat of. They might have caught some of the trend, shorter term trend moves like within the larger move that we've had in those, but I just think most were still too focused on like I don't know. I'm just gonna start calling it a FinTwit tech basket or FinTwit growth pop names. It's like pop names, you know, like again, like the drones or like just super rockets and kind of shit. It's like if you would have really just found one or two of these and stuck with them, God, the returns you would have had kind of has me self. I mean, obviously we're looking back and
the
hindsight.
problem with all of these names, if it lends to most retail mentality, is that when it's at that, I don't know, when you could potentially get a 30x from there, you buy 1,000 shares, right?
Sure.
And when it gets to it's potentially at a 10x, you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy 2,000 shares. So you're averaging up at a heavier cost. And
sure.
then when it dips the first time, like, oh, see, I was right. They're giving us an opportunity, and you buy even higher. So eventually, what happens is your price so high, and the stock starts to reverse. Look at Hood, right? Just look at Hood. You're underwater if you bought any time in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Anytime in the last year.
Last year.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. Well, sorry, since June, so 9 months.
Yeah.
Then
so
you
you're
should have been
underwater here.
Yeah.
Right, and then if you're the guy who bought at $7, you went from being up 30x to being only up 10x.
Oh, cry me a river. You're only up 10x.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is people tend to average up when they're like, oh my God, I wish I had bought more at the bottom because they're too afraid to buy at the bottom ultimately, right? They're just not allocating that much money. So when it starts to firm up and they trust, they end up buying right around here. And that's where their heavier position is. And now they've come back and retested their will, right? And so you're like, oh crap. It's how these charts work, essentially. Markets know it. Maybe you're one of the few that don't do that stuff, but most of the markets do that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy. Who's going to put $100,000 into Hood at 681? They're going to put in $100,000 once it firms up, right? Because at 681, you don't know if it's going to go lower and lower and lower or go bankrupt.
Well, I mean, I was doing that with SoFi, right? So yeah. I mean, I had a under $5 or around a $5 cost basis on SoFi, so I really drilled down on that guy. But at the same time, I don't do that across my portfolio, right? Like you can't do that across your portfolio, right? You have a spec position slot in your holdings for a reason, or at least I do. I shouldn't say you, at least I do. Yeah. So I was willing to bury money away in SoFi at that price range because I thought eventually I would see great appreciation, and I did. In general, like I know when we when we were talking more recently, it was trying to buy higher, and I'm okay with buying higher sometimes, but I have a habit of just continuing to buy lower and pulling that average down. And I think that's where I can get in trouble sometimes. Fortunate enough for me, it's worked out a lot. But at the same time, like I'm not afraid to buy higher, especially if it's in one of the companies that I'm really convicted that long term this is money bags for me, right? So I think I did that in Broadcom. I have some Broadcom that is up here in the 340s range, which is not that far away, but still, right? Like I'm buying the range. Nvidia, same thing, right? Like I was trying to buy close to 175 as often as I could through here, but I think up here at 190, I bought some near that breakout or what we thought might be a breakout. So I'm not opposed to buying on the way up, but of course, I want to try to buy lower as much as I can, but that can also be a dangerous game if you don't have the right strategy or the plan in place before you're just blindly throwing money at stuff. And I know that's completely different how you two trade. So I don't expect you to agree or necessarily have any feelings about it either way. It's just how I kind of do it sometimes.
Yeah, I have a tough time. I mean, I guess I don't know the last time I held a position that was underwater through a weekend, so that's not something I'll just naturally get, probably stopped out of a position in that regard. But
well, for me, I mean, the more recent case is ServiceNow, right? I started this position up here in the 150s in December, and I probably put too much in here. But I've bought there, and I've bought here again. So I've averaged down as far as I'm probably going to average down. But at the same time, the error in my judgment was thinking 150 was going to serve as a real floor. And then Claude and AI just decided all software is dead.
sure.
So that was more of a, I don't know. I don't want to act like that's a one-off type of thing because news can break on anything, but we all know that software has been out of favor for a long time, and that's where I've generally done pretty well. It's been a pond I have fished in well, Nick.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 ways to skin a cat.
So Nick,
Yeah.
back to turnaround Tuesday and follow through Wednesday. GP was a little more hesitant to agree to those things, maybe with some conditions. But do you feel like we're making the turn, or do you feel like we're in a prove it moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly say prove it. You've got plenty of time for price, at least within the queues. You've got plenty of time between 590 and 630 to really get to build and get aggressive in the queues if you were looking to build a long position. You could certainly throw a starter on here, and we're making steps in the right direction. 580 was reclaimed, but let's just throw some fibs on from this leg down. I mean, the 50% from the most recent high to low is 596. And I don't know, the amount of times that we either fail or hold the 50% in either direction, like when we're trending, is pretty, like, that's going to be your level, I think.
That's going to be your over under level. Plus 596 is good. Below 596, probably not so good.
Yeah. If we were to, let's say, fail there, again, that kind of puts us back. We already have another measured move would more or less complete around the 525, 535. That'd be a pretty big ABCD leg down, but I don't know. I think if you're bullish, you're bullish. You just continue to play the if thens and layer it, or stack it. If you're bearish, you could probably attempt a short here versus the 20-day. Kind of same thing. You're probably just throwing on a starter on the short side and then probably legging in probably versus that 596 if you're really leaning to the short side. I would imagine that if we do fail there, you'd probably see a lot of those shorts probably cover on a retest of the 555. But I think if we retest that, at least as of the way the chart looks now, if we were to retest that, I'd be leaning towards us, taking that out, and we're going to head lower.
Like I get why people wanted to short off the open this morning. You had a gap up off of a strong day yesterday. Like I understand it, but if you had waited 15,
I don't think that was the trade. I don't think that was the trade. I think the trade was to buy any type of AM weakness.
Absolutely.
Due to yesterday's bar rather than trying to fade it. I think you're just early, I think.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. If you had waited 15 or 20 minutes after the bell, you would have seen that it's probably not going your way since that opening range never broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nick, I asked you about the turnaround Tuesday because it was almost this exact time last year that we had the turnaround from the Liberation Day stuff, and you were all over that. And on day two, you were telling me like it's time, and I was like, we haven't done shit yet. I was arguing with you that we can't be turning around yet. There's not enough data to convince me. Sure enough, a day later, there was enough data to convince me. But you don't seem to feel strongly enough about this one as opposed to last year.
Well, no. So I shared a chart of the Qs yesterday. Howard actually, I think he reshared it, or maybe he reshared another tweet. One or the other. But if you look back to last March, April, we're in either like kind of one of two places. I think we're either in that initial break of the 200-day after, breaking down from that range that we were in for about, I don't know, 2-3 months. And we're still going to break. We have one leg lower and break lower to kind of repeat, let's say that pattern, or just being that we spent fucking, I don't know what, 30 weeks, 6 months, however long that, in this range that we've been in, perhaps the break into the 555 acts more as a kind of a Wyckoff spring tied to the 590, 630 range. So it hit a measured move at the 550. So you should have been anticipating or thinking that a bounce is likely. Whether or not, it holds again is to be determined. So I think just looking at what played out last year versus where we're at right now, neither would really be, I think, surprising. So just manage your expectations, and if the setups are there, take them. When we got that massive bar last year, I mean, that was I don't have any words for it. But
12% is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm certainly not as, I don't want to say as high conviction as I was then as I am now, but
well, we were on the show as it was happening. I mean, it was a Wednesday. The move was happening. Anyway, GP, when I brought that up to Nick, you kind of snickered and laughed. There wasn't enough data for me, but then there was enough data. Was that why you? Because I was data dependent. You're on mute, brother.
Sorry. There was so much data, dude. Like the data actually happened on Monday, right? That was that.
This is the Monday candle right here on the Q.
Yeah. And so, what does that Monday candle tell you? That we just hit a 10% volatility day after being down 25%. Right? That was a 10% down day on the Q, so like 9 or 10%. Sorry, range day. Right. So what do we talk about quite often, which is volatility marks tops and bottoms.
Sure.
So you got the volatility candle saying, okay, time for me to pay attention to this market in a more meaningful capacity.
Yeah.
And so when Wednesday happened, it was like, okay, almost expected, right? And then after Wednesday happened, everyone and their mother was short the markets or talking about short their markets. Happened during COVID, happened during the 2022 double bottom. This is a normal reaction in the same way bulls at the top are like, this is going to go to $1 billion, right?
Right.
It goes both ways. Sentiment runs both ways. But I didn't know a 12% day. I don't think anyone knew a 12% day was coming, right? That's how leverage short the market was to the downside on that move, right? And so it was a function of market mechanics to reverse it back higher. And then momentum takes over and makes it a 12% day, which is nuts, right? And then the taco is born. The Donald taco is born from that moment. What you're seeing if you're extrapolating over time is the same same movement down, less percentage is resulting in less of a taco candle. So the strength of these candles are slowly losing their power, so to speak. And what I was talking about before we started the show, I posted it on Stocktwits, is these are footprints of a longer term topping process. Right? So what you just had was basically 6 months of distribution, broke to the downside, and then is reversing higher. So yes, we can go higher from here. We can go higher for a year. We can go higher for 2 years. This is not a, let's call this a
bear market rally.
Bear market. It's not a bear market rally, but
Right.
it's footprints of what just happened, right? And as you can see, even yesterday's candle with that much, we couldn't even get to 80 vol, right? Like there's small footprints for a longer term conversation, and I think you just have to keep that in mind, longer picture, right? And what they were able to do to stocks on this level is that they were able to liquidate out. So yes, we can go higher, but that the higher is usually the distribution chase part, right? And then the chase can happen for 6 months. It's the market. It's not going to top out in one day and reverse to the .com crisis. This happens over time. So something just keep in mind, back of your head. We've talked about this stuff, but why I was laughing.
I think you just described a wall of worry.
The wall of worry is not the problem. I don't care about this stuff.
I'm just saying, right? Like if this is footprints of a topping pattern to a long-term top, right? Not within a year or so, then people are going to hate and fight this rally the whole way, giving it more legs.
Yes, and then once it starts clearing levels, the chase will be on.
Right.
And that chase is the kind of the final distribution, and that final distribution can last longer than most people expect. Right? Like we talked about this with ExxonMobil. We just saw 3 years did nothing. Seriously nothing for 3 years. While oil was going down in a downtrend, and Exxon finally breaks out with oil, but ultimately over the longer period, oil being this high is bad for all oil companies, because what this does is demand destruction, right? Like you can't have oil 100, 200, 250 unless you have puts. That's what you want, right? No one wants oil 250 because they have puts. They want to see everything burn. And then get their 0 DTE 3-cent puts paid 17,000 million %. And so, but this is an actual. This is not SanDisk going parabolic. This is not Tesla going parabolic and operates in its own vacuum. This is a global commodity. The same impacts of gold, same impacts of copper, same impacts of silver, longer term. Right. So if this Strait of Hormuz stuff continues to be an issue over the long time, and this oil sustains over 100, you're talking about oil destroying global demand.
Bad, no good.
Yeah, it's no good at all, right?
Yeah.
So, but almost every asset class has parabolas in the last 6 months, if you look at it, right? Energy just had its parabola, and now everyone's going to try to long energy, and they're going to get destroyed. Gold had, but all of the parabolas haven't been terrible. What's been leading us out of this market for the last month? It was crypto for a little bit, but it's been gold.
Yeah, I threw on gold and silver.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, what's that like? You're talking about a real. What's gold a hedge to? It's a hedge to inflation. So some things to keep in mind. Like I said, I don't think we're out of the woods because of the taking over Venezuela, not a big deal, but causing havoc in the Middle East and being like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Has longer term impacts, right? So just keep all that stuff in mind.
I think the two are quite a bit different, obviously, right? And You know, I just I feel like I learn so much from the two of you every week, and I know that we always don't practice each other's disciplines per se, but it's just so great to have the the input coming at you from everywhere. So I guess my take for everyone out there who's watching and listening is find these sources that make you better, that sharpen you, right? Iron sharpens iron. So because we all three do things completely differently, it's great to have that type of sounding board just to, absorb knowledge that maybe you don't have or something that you don't understand. And I think that speaks so highly as to why you two are up for Stocktwits Community Member of the Year at the Hashtag Awards coming up May 4th. So we're a month away. We're all going to be at the New York Stock Exchange. So we hope to see you guys there. Everybody who's watching, who's in the chat. If you're interested in tickets or you want to just go vote for these guys or vote for everybody else, go to hashtag.stocktwits.com and check out all that information. But I'm just so grateful to you two every week, just sharing everything. I don't trade as much anymore. You guys know that. And I kind of have my, longer term portfolio almost autopilot at this point. Sure, I do some buying and selling here and there, but you guys bring a different edge for everyone who watches the show every week. And if you've been keeping up with us over the last 3 years, I mean, we've said it how many times, how much alpha have the three of us just brought everyone who has, cared to watch for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. But anyway, enough bragging on us. Nick just drew. Where'd you go, Nick?
Oh, I don't know. The lighting looks weird on my picture, so I was trying to figure out what was going on. But
I was getting ready to tee you up because you had brought up the XLE earlier, and you said you had a few energy positions on. But after what GP was saying, is that still your? Are you siding with GP? Are you having a change of heart on what you see is happening in the energy sector?
I mean, it was kind of doesn't really matter too much. I have a little bit of XOM and a little bit of Oxy left. And I was thinking about so little, I thought about just raising my stop to break even and just kind of forgetting about them. But looking at the XLE, I mean, it did, yesterday I thought the move yesterday looked pretty good. It pulled into the 10-day and held, closed well off the lows. I think seeing price kind of rally off the open, but then reverse below yesterday's low, I think was kind of your signal that this thing wants to pull in a little bit harder than, probably like an energy bull would like. It's pulling in. So, from the recent breakout, 57 is basically the 0.382. So I think that, that's probably your first stop, maybe 55-ish. 55 is going to be kind of I think between the 53 and 55 is going to be kind of the area you want to see hold if you want to see this kind of, or if you're thinking that this is going to continue. I'd be likely long out of both of those, just getting, stopped out if we pulled back to the 50%.
So you wouldn't be interested below either of those lines, really?
No. I like the alt energy names way better. I mean, I don't know. I like the alt energy names better than
like the FSLRs of the world.
I mean, FSLR, speaking of which, I think it looks pretty good. Again, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. It broke, a descending, kind of a short-term descending trend line on the daily. If you're just connecting the kind of two pivot highs within this, what is that at the 200-day? So
as long as it doesn't do that, it's likely to do that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the name that Power is I don't know. I love watching the Power PWR. And anytime I think of like the phrase expensive stake, expensive power, it comes to mind just being that, not every range resolves to the upside, but it does respect its ranges pretty well. And I think for an expensive name, it trades pretty well too. Which had a nice pop off the 50-day and held pretty damn hard considering the markets, considering the most recent weakness in the market. Trying to think of.
I'm just going through some names while you're talking, Nick.
Yeah. Go ahead, GP.
Yeah, well, just while you're talking is like if you look at the performance of the XLE from the COVID lows, all versus the SPY versus the Qs, XLE has actually outperformed all of them, right? Like
yeah, because it came from like 0.
Well, 14, right? 14 to 65 or whatever it was, which is
yeah,
the low was 11,
right? So you're looking at a 500% move, 600% move in the XLE.
Beast.
This is an index. SPY 220 was the low, and the high was what, 650?
Yeah. So
just,
not quite
100%. Just tells you how far the XLE has run. If you don't think it's like we've seen a lot of these, right? Like after a big monstrous run of these names, like Hood, for example, gets to like a fib extension of like 161. It tries to push higher on this big, massive green candle. Oracle did it in September, right? When it went to 345, and it's never been higher since. Like XLE is kind of in that same boat. If you actually step back and look a little bit higher, like this needs to calm down and relax so it can go higher. But it almost feels like this is the final kind of trap you moment on XLE for the time being.
I don't normally hop in the middle of our conversation and just throw out a product update, but Stocktwits just sent a product email out saying CME Group futures are now live on Stocktwits, so you can watch the live futures price action on web, iOS, and Android. So that's cool. That's good. Good job, guys. We love to see that, right?
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not everybody gets futures data live, and that's hey, shout out to the product team. Good job, Boz and team.
I'm surprised on how quiet the chat is, but it's also spring break.
Yeah, it's also spring break, which we're on spring break here. GP, sorry, back to XLE real quick.
Yes.
You're not as hopeful as Nick, or are you?
I mean, I'm not hopeful. I could really. It really doesn't matter. I mean, to me, I think even if you're looking at XLE versus any other sector out there, there's especially if you're bullish, there's better trades out there.
Okay, fair enough.
So I don't want to be called. We don't need to have another gush moment or
What was it? Get you some gush.
Yeah, we don't need another one of those.
That was early on. It's hard to believe how long ago it was. Also, we just surpassed a year here on Stocktwits. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to Howard and the powers that be, Keith, Ryan, of course, Ryan, super producer Ryan. Gotta throw Ryan love. He's here with us every week. Where was I going to go with that? I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about?
So let's talk about some strength, right? That has shown up in the markets, regardless of what the markets have been doing.
Doc-N.
No.
Oh.
It looks great though.
Which one?
Doc-N looks like distribution right now, so I will wait for this to kind of resolve.
Okay.
Look at that, right?
We can't have a bullish show without at least one taste of the wet blanket.
You know what? The wet blanket's been right for the last 3 months. So if the mega caps don't stop selling, we're going lower. Doc-N, dude, we all get stuff wrong. But to me, until this resolves, Doc-N had a oversubscribed offering of 6x. That it's still, and it's barely struggling to hold on here. I think 77 is the offering price, so that will continue to probably hold for a little while. But I'm just in the camp that who's left to buy. So after a pretty sizable move here, 4 or 5x, right, in the last year. But the ones that haven't had these sizable moves and have been consolidating and showing relative strength. Number one, Dell.
Yeah, Dell and HP look good.
Right. So like, if you go to the monthly candle or the weekly candle, probably the weekly candle is better. Right. So you had that big breakout. You had that big breakout back in February of 2024. That candle, right? That breakout candle. That's your topping. No, the big green one. That tells you it's topping, right? After such a big move, it's like, okay, your radar should be up on this is topping. So yes, can it go higher? Sure. But you're at the tail end of your distribution cycle, and you'll get to buy it cheaper, in my opinion. And you did get to buy it cheaper, but this has now gone sideways for 2 years and is starting to break out. Last week we had a all-time high weekly close. Yesterday we had an all-time high monthly close. So you have multiple time frame alignment on Dell. This looks great. Can it go up and down here? Sure, but if this consolidation is for higher and you can actually see it underneath that people are coming in and accumulating it in this range for the last 2 years, this is one of your new leaders. And that lead might only last 3 months in this market these days, but it's your new leader. The other name, ARM. Same exact structure. Big breakout. 2-year February 2024 yet again. 2-year consolidation cycle. They just guided up like crazy, and it still hasn't broken out yet. So you have that, and then your Bay, Ben.
Which one?
You know it.
I have so many.
There's only one.
I only have one Bay.
Yeah.
Lisa Sue.
Yes. This has shown this. It's just zoom out a little bit more than for me. This is what AMD has done in the last 2 big up cycles and then down cycles, right? And this has shown relative strength overall as well. And then you have Intel as well. So like, but Intel's whatever, right? So, but look at that candle on Intel on the weekly. Look at that. It's a beast. But Intel has not only shown relative strength now, it has shown relative strength since last August. So there's a lot underneath if you're looking that looks pretty damn good outside of the mega caps, which continue to be a thorn in everyone's pockets.
Nick, where are you looking for strength?
Same. Sorry, I was pumping up the bullish thing in the chat room. Same spots. I love Dell. ARM both look fantastic. God, I mean, same thing. Like the more I look at AMD, it's like, dude, how many chances are they going to give us at 200?
You might have had the last shot.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, this is like your 15th opportunity to hold it, or to kind of leg versus 200.
You got 5 chances at 190, and no soup for you after that.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, hopefully.
So maybe here we go.
As a long-term Lisa Sue admirer and AMD shareholder, yes. I did want to provide one update, Nick. Remember when we had Sean on, Sean McLaughlin?
Yes.
And I was like, I need to pick your brain on some option strategies. Well, I've been quietly trading some credit and debit spreads on my account, on my trading account. I have to say, so far I'm 5 for 5 on winners.
Nice.
My next trade will be a loser now that I've come out and shared this. But yeah, Sean gave me a few tidbits and pointers, and again, just another example of how we try to bring value, whether it's bringing people like Sean on, or Riley, or Za, who's usually in the chat. You know, we've had so many great people. Lex, right? Lex Trading. All these people just bring a little something different that maybe we're not experts at, or maybe we don't do that. Again, just like we've said, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, and I'm going to try to get bear charts on with us one time. Bear chart. I'm a very much admirer of bear charts, and it will be great to have a bear that's on the show. I think so. We'll try to see if we can make that happen. But as I look around, Nick, I still see the Qs doing what they're doing near the highs of the day. We're off just a smidge, running into that 20 daily moving average there, and the former pivot, right? Not really the low, but the low end of the range that we had marked so long ago. But look at your upside down triangle here, Nick. Reclaimed almost perfectly, rode the whole way down. And I think when you did that, you were just goofing off, right? But we had Cookie Monster on the show, and he had the upside, and Nick was like, well, let's see what the reverse of that looks like.
Yeah, because I was playing with the idea like behind the golden ratio. And so I was like looking at kind of sharp, bear market, or I don't know, corrections, whatever, as well. And just thought I'm not one to like really speak a lot of times in absolutes. It's hard for me to do that because I just, I think anything's possible. And the longer this kind of range went on, it was just like, God, for fuck's sake, I gotta maybe factor in another possibility here. But I don't know where I was going with that, other than just, I was kind of goofing around.
Well, it wasn't just willy nilly. You were trying to,
because
you were being a scientist.
Well, yeah, because where we were at in price, and just thinking about time of year, kind of some of the, other kind of weirder shit, astrologically, I kind of thought that timing wise, what Cookie had mentioned, I thought that the timing piece to that was more important than like the near-term direction that he was discussing. So like I thought that the timing, there was going to be a major inflection point, whether we sold off into that and put in a major pivot low, or we kind of went sideways and was like breaking out to all-time highs. Was kind of more of what I was thinking, as opposed to just, God, why am I? Oops.
You're good. We can see you and hear you.
Sorry, I'm getting a weird phone call popping up on my computer. So anyways, that's just kind of what I was thinking. Like, you throw, if we've talked in the past about like areas of confluence and like what confluence means. It's like if you're taking multiple oscillators, indicators, strategies, whatever, and you're kind of seeing certain areas really overlap. That's kind of, again, that's kind of what I was trying to figure out. But if in a more conservative approach, we still do have a little bit of time. We have kind of the month of April, I think, to kind of faff around before, ultimately deciding or if we want to resume higher. So maybe we are putting in kind of a pivot low here and perhaps break out into all-time highs. I mean, that would kind of be in alignment with us discussing kind of a squeeze if we push past that 595, 596. I don't know. I think you definitely catch a lot of traders offsides if we push through that 595, 600.
Well, we talked about 670. Awesome, we talked about 670 sort of being what we thought might be the upside. I mean, that would be 20% from near the lows to up there. So, I mean, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good. We got a couple questions in the chat. First, Frugal Monk, I think, is being facetious. He said, can we address the elephant in the room and talk about how shorting oil is the big dog play? Woof, woof.
Yeah, I mean, you just
am I shorting oil here?
I'm not.
GP,
That's what I mean.
Would I short oil?
are you shorting oil here?
No, you should have been shorting it higher. Like why are you going to short at the near the bottom of the range? You're gambling, right? You're not putting on an educated short, in my opinion. Can it break down from here? Sure, but the short was when it failed the 104
107.
level. What do I have? 105, right?
Yeah.
105 is my level, right? So when I failed that 105 is when you take a short saying 105 is my stop, and then you let it play out. You shorting here doesn't make sense, and if it breaks 96, you short. You like.
We are firm believers to not short in the hole, and while this is not the hole, it definitely feels like it could go either way right now, short term.
Yeah, I mean, because oil still looks
bullish.
I mean, yeah, it's literally holding the 10-day.
I think he's being facetious. I think he's being facetious.
Oh.
Snaptrick says POWL should be a beneficiary of natural gas line spending. Looks pretty good. GP's going to probably say it looks like distribution to him.
We should get GP a
Is that right, GP? Am I right, GP?
I'm looking.
You just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Up means that I was right. Down means I was wrong.
Sorry, just distracted by my news a little bit. It does not look like distribution.
It does not like distribution. Oh man, I think it looks pretty good. I would take a trade if I were so inclined.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it a lot. I think your next I mean, I think you could still be adding into it or legging into it, through highs at what, 610. I've got a CD leg that completes at 775. Which would be the next leg higher.
775. That's a big move.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be longy this either, though. Right?
30%, Nick.
God, I think it looks fantastic. Actually,
I think it does, but I think it's where you came from, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
This 1 year chart is 147 to 610. So even though I don't think it's distribution and it could potentially go higher, you're basically, instead of shorting in the hole, you're longing in the hole, right?
Yeah, you're assuming that it's just a trend
fair.
resume. The trend is resuming. Yeah.
Hey, GP, you traded Nike not too long ago. They had earnings yesterday. Huge move to the downside today. 14.25% nearly. A lot ask looks like it maybe could round trip. What do you think? Do you have any?
It failed everything I was bullish on last year, so I was like, yep, no longer touching this. So and it continues to fail. This is PayPal on steroids. Someone yesterday said to me that it just keeps getting cheaper, and I was like, what if it's just actually getting more expensive because they keep they keep missing earnings, right? This is so broken on so many different levels that your energy is going to be misplaced for a long time, right? But people are buying this versus the names that are working like Dell and AMD and stuff like that.
Yeah, you guys know me well enough. I'm part of the Dip Buyers Anonymous Club, but I'm not touching this. Like there's nothing there for me to even consider. I've got the monthly time frame up. I mean, you could say that, this was a breakout here, but look at the volume compared to the other month's volume. So I don't know. I every bull in the history of bulls wants it to hold here if you're long Nike, but even if it goes up, it's a pretty slow mover all in, right, Nick? I just think there's a lot better places to fish without the risk of continuing to depreciate.
Yeah, we must have talked about Nike on the pod at one point because I have it kind of charted and it just looks like a big descending channel that's in control.
Yeah.
I have like a horrendous time trading retail shit like this. I don't
like
buy a lot of
trading
shit,
retailers
so
in general, much less apparel, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
this is the stuff that's sold in the retail stores, and it's just, it's hard business these days, I feel like. Wow, we're at time. Great show. GP, enjoy your time out in the Bay with the fam. I hope your beautiful bride gets there soon. What's your last word?
Just do it.
Just do it. Well, that was.
Why is my camera so staticky like that?
Nicholas, what do you got for us?
Yeah, appreciate all of you. I look forward to this every week. I'm gonna be out for spring break
Next week.
So I'll miss you, but I'll be back in 2 weeks. So you guys have a good week.
As we're into the spring, and Nick, you're going on spring break. As we go into the spring and head to the summer, people are planning whether it's spring break or family vacations. Go find you a good book. I don't care what it is, just go find you a good book. If you need recommendations, hit one of us up. We've got loads of ideas to share with you. But read, make yourself better, understand the world a little bit better. And with that, we'll see you next Wednesday right here on the Community Rip Live on Stocktwits. We love you. 1 p.m. Eastern Time. See you next week.